Charles Mallory is the founder of Greenwich Hospitality Group, beginning with the Delamar Greenwich Harbor Hotel in 2002. They've expanded to the Delamar Southport, other properties in West Hartford, Mystic, Traverse City, Michigan, and now, this summer, Delamar Westport. It's an exciting addition to our town. I got a little sneak preview yesterday. So, Charles, welcome to 06880, the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me, Dan. I appreciate being here, and it's exciting to be here as well because we're very excited about the new hotel opening, partially now, but fully by September.
Sure. Your bio, which I checked out yesterday, says that you have a family shipbuilding legacy in Mystic that began over 200 years ago.
Yup, that is true. My great-great-great-grandfather arrived in Mystic on Christmas Eve of 1816 as a penniless sailmaker's apprentice. And
From England?
No, from Connecticut. He
okay.
was actually from Waterford, and he was planning to migrate to the Great Lakes, actually. And he ended up by staying in Mystic and becoming a successful sailmaker, and then subsequently became a ship owner and a ship builder, and was all during the 1830s and 40s. And his son, Charles Henry Mallory, followed in his footsteps and sort of spread the footprint a little further away to New York City, and the ships at that point went farther afield, and mainly to the U.S. Gulf and Cuba. But interestingly, the whaling business was really the equivalent of the oil business today, and whaling ships, which Mystic and New Bedford and Salem and Nantucket were all famous for. Ships went off to the South Pacific for 2 years at a time, came back with barrels of whale oil, and they're tiny by comparison to today's ships. And that was you could go off for 2 years, come back with just 1,000 barrels of whale oil and make it all worthwhile. Actually get quite rich.
Wow. And you got into the family business?
Well, interestingly, every one of my predecessors never handed the business over to their son. It was always death, being bought out, having a fight with their, their father. So there was never a smooth transition. The war got in the way. So I went to work for a company that my father had been involved with in 1974, and then broke off and started my own company in 1979 with two other partners.
That was the hospitality company?
No, that was a ship. That was a ship brokerage business, and we were very actively involved in that in New York City, and then moved to Connecticut in the late '80s, and along with quite a few other people from New York City, and actually Westport still has a number of shipping companies here, and Greenwich and Stamford did as well. And there was really a huge community of shipping people here for a very long time, and there's still quite a few here. So we were just in the vanguard of that.
And how did the Delamar in Greenwich, the first one, come about?
It came about really through a shipping connection. It was originally a showboat, and it was at that point owned by a very colorful cast of characters. And then it became the Greenwich Harbor Inn. And it was owned by two gentlemen who were in the shipping business, who lived in Greenwich, who were Scandinavian. And they managed to get themselves in some financial trouble. And the court seized the hotel, and it was sold to us because they had a fellow who had a right of first refusal, and they'd had a deal to sell it at a price that would have satisfied their debts. So I ended up by putting together a group, buying it with their fellow that they was involved with, and that was that. In 1999, there was a lease on the restaurant, so we really couldn't do too much about doing it over at that point. So we let the restaurant run its lease and got approvals and plans to make vast improvements, and got the financing together, which was not easy because 9/11 had come along in the meantime and put a kibosh on travel and hotels and obviously air travel for a while, enough of a shock to really stop lenders in their tracks. And luckily, we did find a lender who, ironically, was Mercedes-Benz Credit, which was based in Norwalk at the time, and we're able to get the hotel built out, completely repositioned it,
Yeah.
and the rest is history.
Yeah, filled a niche.
It
Then the Delamar Southport, which pretty unique. I mean, it's a boutique hotel in underneath 95.
Yeah. Well, that's also came about as a result of another sort of financial crash. That was 2008 when Lehman Brothers went down and with the great financial crisis took place. That hotel or structure was foreclosed on, and it's a mixed use property, and it was, I think, a very well conceived project that unfortunately just got caught in the buzzsaw of the Lehman Brothers debacle and the great financial crisis. And I think it basically also cost too much for the time. But we were fortunate to buy it at a very good price and finish it and open it. And it's been a wonderful hotel ever since. Restaurant was, I think, critical to its success. The funniest part, though, was that the hotel was basically open to I-95 and the access road, and there was it was very noisy on the inner part, and we ended up by getting permission to seal off the wall that faced the highway from an entryway that went through. And that allowed us to really create a courtyard effect and an outdoor dining experience. And we completely reorganized the entrance to the restaurant. And I think that's what really made it. If we'd been stuck with the original layout, I don't think it would have been as successful.
Yeah, interesting. And that brings us a few hundred yards west to Westport and the Delamar Westport. That's on what used to be most recently the Westport Inn. Before that, it was the New Englander Motel. So how did you end up with that property? What was your vision for it?
It's actually 1.3 miles
Okay.
to the west. We obviously have measured that. The hotel was acquired by two of our partners from the former owner, and originally the plan was to make it a condominium. Then they decided it would make sense to be sort of half hotel and half condominium. And then they decided that it probably made more sense for it to be a hotel and asked me if I was interested in taking over the whole project on that basis, which we did. And the reason clearly was that we felt there was enough demand for another hotel in this market, and one that had more capability than Southport in terms of rooms, and maybe also more of a spread of room types. So that was really the decision, and hopefully it'll be a good decision.
It's remarkable when you think about it that Westport did not, after the closing of the Westport Inn, did not have a hotel. It's got the Inn at Longshore with maybe a dozen rooms.
Right.
But
It,
how could there be no hotel in
yeah,
this town?
it's you're absolutely right. It is sort of phenomenal, and you would think on that basis that the hotel in Southport, which is really the closest one, and obviously there are ones in Norwalk, but you would think that they would be running at 100% capacity 365 days a year, which is not the case. That's not to say that Southport isn't running at a good capacity, but yeah, it is pretty amazing when you think about any other suburb of this size and this
With so
affluent.
much going on
Well,
and
right,
people
right.
coming in for all kinds of things.
Exactly. It is staggering that there was no hotel. Well, now there is, and I think only time will tell what the real demand turns out to be. And I think that the Westport Inn was never run with a particular sense of love and attention. It was always sort of a third party situation. I shouldn't say always, but in the last two ownerships. And there was no heart and soul that was really put in it. And, we've really done that. And it's been a very expensive renovation proposition. And hopefully everyone will like the result. And, we do try and give these hotels some soul. And it's all about the people. It's all about service. And in this world today, I'm a great believer in that. And, don't want to have virtual check-ins. I don't want to have reservations being taken by a call center in some foreign country. And, we really do believe in the people and the personal attention given both at the hotel and the food and beverage level.
Yeah, as I walked through yesterday, I was impressed by the excitement of the people there, the people working, the people prepping it. They were clearly, it was more than a job for them. So talk about, your vision for it.
Well, I'm glad you detected that, Dan, because, our staff is wonderful, and we've been very fortunate to have a group of people who've been with us in some cases from the very beginning, many people actually, and very long tenure by most of the people at all levels. And that's really what makes a great hotel, to have that loyalty and feeling of being involved and feeling that they're doing something to make other people happy and doing their job well. And the interesting thing is that this is a very good area for staffing. There are our hotel. Well, I will tell you, we've had a harder time getting staff in northern Michigan and in Mystic in terms of just people who are, really hardworking and interested in their job and, don't have any baggage. And this Fairfield County is actually pretty friendly in that regard. And we've luckily here, because of Southport, because of Greenwich, because of the Inlet Longshore, we have a pool of people that we can draw on to help seed the initial staffing levels. And I'm very confident we're going to be opening with a very good staff. The other thing that's really wonderful about this business in today's world is it's remarkably international. We have a United Nations of people in these hotels, and it really feels good. It feels that this is sort of an American dream in the making, and we've been able to hire people and see them grow and move up the ladder, and into really jobs of great responsibility. And our manager in Southport is a wonderful woman called Maria Sitnik, who's been with us from the beginning, and she's Ukrainian, and is about as good a advertisement for the Ukraine as anyone could possibly be. I mean, she's just a fantastic person, and has been with us, from the very beginning of Southport. And you just love to meet people like that, and you love to work with people like that. And they're, as they said, they are from all over the world.
Sure. So tell me about the hotel itself. People come in, what are they going to see? What are they going to be impressed with? What are you particularly proud of?
Well, this was a hotel that, because of its location and the architecture that existed there, and because Westport is, I would say, more of a cutting edge town than Greenwich or Southport or West Hartford, we really wanted to make a transition to being a more contemporary product, a little more jazzier and more contemporary. Southport we inherited sort of a traditional design, and Greenwich right now, we've actually just done a do-over in Greenwich to again a more transitional, somewhere between a traditional and contemporary look. But we wanted Westport to try and be, I always said I wanted to look like Northern California or Napa, for lack of a better way of putting it. And we can all learn from California. They usually are a little bit ahead when it comes to taste making. So there is a bit of that sort of feel. Very high ceilings in the public spaces. I mean, extremely high ceilings.
The atrium is.
Yeah, and the restaurant is going to have a very spacious and green, garden-oriented look, and lots of wood, natural materials. So it's really got that sort of grandeur of a space that is we've not had the pleasure of working with that kind of space in the other hotels. And the rooms are big. They're actually very big and comfortable. And that was another thing that we wanted to make sure happened. And the artwork and the design, again, trended more toward a contemporary look, but not hipster Brooklyn, concrete floors and minimalist feeling.
Well, you got Christian Siriano.
Well, and I that's a very good example, and I think it was very serendipitous that he had a shop here, and we met him. He was known to our in-house publicist, Aaron Spiegel, who was a friend, and we got to know him, and he's a brilliant, dynamic, creative guy, and a wine, and he was just starting the idea of doing interior design, and as of course many others have, Ralph Lauren obviously maybe first and foremost, but it's not an uncommon departure for clothing designers, and
he lives 2 miles away.
Right, and he lives 2 miles away. But he has some very cool furniture. He obviously has a tremendous flair. And we thought, why not partner with him and let him do his magic in the public spaces and a few suites. So I'm excited to see what his, the reception will be to his work. I think there's some very cool things that he's done. And, we'll hopefully the rest of the hotel will also be interesting and fun for people. The restaurant was he did not have anything to do with, But
Restaurant is called Dandelion.
Dandelion.
And what's the cuisine?
Well, first of all, interestingly, our executive chef, Frederick Kiefer, came up with the name, and I sort of queried it, and he said that actually dandelions are the most widely eaten flower in the world.
Who knew?
Who knew? And actually, I just came back from Greece, and sure enough, I had almost every day a sort of vegetable dish, which were basically dandelions. They were sort of sautéed and grilled dandelions, which are sort of like broccoli rabe, really. It was I sort of felt like it was equivalent of a broccoli rabe dish. So they're very widely eaten and good for you. And this was, keep in mind, I was eating this in Greece, which is another key to the name. The cuisine we're referring to it as cuisine de soleil, which as for French means a cuisine of the sun. And it's really going to be the Eastern Mediterranean, sort of a voyage around the Eastern Mediterranean, Greece, Turkey, Lebanon, Israel, Egypt, and there'll definitely be some Moroccan influence because we have a large Moroccan contingent in the hotels, a very large French-speaking contingent, really, and especially on the food and beverage, but not totally. And so it's going to be sort of Eastern Mediterranean, clean, grilled. We have a bit of an open kitchen here, which we've never had before, not totally, and but that will be a new experiment for us. Large sort of bread and ovens that are that we've never again had before. And Chef Kiefer is very excited about this. It's a sort of different concept for him. Being classically trained French, that's always the default position for him. But L'Escale being our original one and is meant to be French Riviera. It's meant to be seaside, fish oriented. That's been a wonderful restaurant for now 23 or 4 years, and which is a long run.
Yeah. And
it's actually never done any better. Artisan was the sort of farm to table look and feel that was certainly popular 12 years ago and still is. And we zealously try and make sure that we are using farm to table and local ingredients. And there's one in West Hartford and Southport, and well received as a concept. And then the last concept prior to Dandelion, actually there's an Artisan in Traverse City, Michigan too. I should point that out. The last concept prior to Dandelion is La Plage, which is in the Inn at Longshore and also in Mystic. And that's meant to be, obviously, La Plage is the beach. And again, seafood oriented, little, not as sophisticated or as expensive as L'Escale. That's, been a success as well.
And we should mention that the Delamar is involved in the Inn at Longshore
right.
as well.
Right.
The Westport Inn and its predecessors never really seemed to be of Westport. They didn't draw Westporters to their restaurants. It was just there. Sounds like you really are hoping that Westporters will come to Dandelion, will really embrace this as part of the town.
I hope so. I'll be disappointed if they don't. And I will tell you that we have enjoyed that kind of support in all the other restaurants and hotels because we've really tried to be there. If I'm not there in person, members of the staff are. We have local investors who are from Westport. which we've done elsewhere. I mean, in West Hartford we did, and in Greenwich, that always helps. They like to talk it up amongst their friends, and so do try and get embedded in the community, and that's very, very important. And my wife or I or my children are always trying to be there and be a part of a community. And we've been involved in various charitable activities in various places, and we will do that here as well.
So how much have you known about Westport before you got involved, and what have you learned along the way?
I think I knew a lot about Westport. Its reputation is well known, and as a sort of an artsy place, was always what I grew up in. Obviously, Paul Newman, Joanne Woodward were the poster children for that.
Did you know them at Lime Rock, where you're also involved?
Yes, and we actually named the back straightaway at Lime Rock 2 years ago, the Paul Newman Straight, and it was his home away from home. He loved that place. He really, really did, and he was there a lot. And so there was that was very much made me feel warm and fuzzy about Westport. But I also, and I grew up in New York, and we had a house in Eastern Connecticut, and I actually was born in Darien. So I have a real long-term history with Fairfield County. My father was a very good friend of Briggs Cunningham, who lived in Westport, and
the famous
famous sailor and car guy, and so there's always been connections here, and it's a beautiful town. Actually, another funny thing, you'll get a kick out of this. I went to school with Charles Scribner the Fourth, maybe the Fifth, who was, of course, the editor or publisher of F. Scott Fitzgerald and Hemingway and many others. And he, as you know, it's recently been sort of discovered and authenticated that the inn at Longshore was really where Gatsby was living. And you're obviously well aware of that and
yes.
have seen the book. And Charlie Scribner, my friend, is completely, bought into that. And he actually, helped produce the movie. Ah. And is, quoted frequently in that Sam Waterston movie.
Boats Against the Current, is that what it?
I think that's it, yeah. And but in any case, so that's sort of an interesting tie-in, and we've never really played that up at the Inn at Longshore, but maybe we will a little bit. But again, that just speaks to the history of arts, literature that has existed in this town, and it certainly prides itself on it.
Sure.
So it's great to be a part of that, and I think we're going to try and. I'm working very closely with Fairfield University, who have always been, and we've supported their, public programming, and we love that partnership as well. And Dr. Philip Eliasoff is a great friend, and his daughter works for us, actually on the art side, and we really want to try and develop speaking, a speaking series, rotating art exhibits, things like that, which, easier said than done to do it well. But that's something I'd like to try and do here.
Great. So last question, a Westport question. If you're not at Delamar Westport or the Inn at Longshore, where do you hang out in town?
Where do I hang out in town? I was going to say the Grey Goose, but that's in Southport, because and again, if you have 2 more seconds,
sure.
What was fascinating to me was when we opened Southport, just before the Grey Goose opened, and I was really upset that the this competitor just opened across the street. Well, it turns out it was the best thing that could have ever happened for both of us because it created a destination, and it's a wonderful, complement to what we have in Southport. And actually, today, something else has happened that's going to complement our hotel in Westport, and that is the opening of the clubhouse across the street. And I think that is a very cool place. It's a very cool concept. I think it's going to be a draw, very complimentary to, the hotel. I couldn't be happier that's opened, and I will certainly be hanging out there. In saying all of that, I've patronized a lot of the other restaurants, and there's some good ones, and I've never even really, I don't really hang out at the bars the way you might think I might. But whether it's the Welk or Gabriel's, I've been to almost all of them.
Sure.
And it's a nice high standard.
Yeah.
And we're happy to have a high bar because we think we'll be able to raise the bar.
Great. And a rising tide lifts all boats.
A rising tide lifts all boats, and that's sort of what I, referred to in that Grey Goose discussion. But I actually think that the clubhouse is going to make this a destination at the eastern end of town.
Sure. It's a place that hasn't had much before, but
Yep.
now with the opening of Delamar Westport, it will. Charles
Yep.
Mallory, founder of the the Greenwich Hospitality Group, right?
Yep.
Operates all the Delamars, and thank you for stopping by Westport by 06880 the podcast, and we look forward to the grand opening.
Yep.
We've got the soft opening now and the grand opening to come.
Right. Exactly. Just like the theater, you've got to have a few dress rehearsals.
There you go.
Good. Well, thank you, Dan, very much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Okay. Thank you so much.